El respeto y las agallas son dos cosas que te ganas si nadamos en mi plaza. Es el río de Tijuana, la zona más conflictiva de esa gente que es muy brava. Hay tatuados entrenados pero bien camuflajeados y unas reglas del trabajo que promulgan altos mandos. No robar y no menores y tumbar a los contrarios. La clica instala sus filtros de su aduana de comandas. Aquí mi gente resguarda de los ñongos a las bardas. Rifles cortos también largos, otros portan una lanza. Divisiones primitivas, otra zona de la tía. De aquí brincan derechito, más que en centrino hacen fila. Si se hospedan duermen horas o se iluminan su vida.
Y ahí le va para el sindicato, mi compa.
Y no cambiamos de línea, oiga. El terreno de nuestra patria, eventos que lo respaldan. Son famosas nuestras latas que avientan en la sonaja. Los halcones gritan limpio para surtir a esa raza. Para echarse unos tragos los jefes piden barajas. Se escuchan unos corridos, ya llegó el de la guitarra. Ya marcan las 4:20, hora de una relajada. Ni compasión si es corriente de las lacras. Seguimos con la instrucción, al servicio está mi guardia. Somos fieles al cartel, quitamos las amenazas. Con porte internacional, el Bordo, el gran canal. Un misterio que es real, unos entran, otros caen. Pues los surcos de la selva no cualquiera brincará.
Man, Fernando, did you have this group make you this corrido?
No, that's actually the name of my podcast. It was inspired by that corrido.
Really?
Yeah.
But you go ahead.
The what?
But you did have another band make you a corrido, correct?
Yeah. There's been bands that have made me corridos before. Yeah.
That is one bad song, man. What did you think, Chalo?
Está pesado, bro, esa rola. Neta, bro. I was looking for my app. I had an app that does gun sounds, and I was looking for the one for AK-47. I couldn't find. Es que tengo mucho que no la uso, bro.
Hey, Benny, you outdid yourself again, man. The pictures that you put on, the song, and those that don't speak Spanish, you know what? We should add translation. Maybe next time we could do it. But the words and the song, boom. Yeah, you know what, man? It was beautiful, the song. Yeah.
If you listen to the lyrics, and if you listen to the lyrics very carefully, it tells you the story, man.
Oh, without a doubt. And the pictures you put, match the lyrics. That's great. Hey, guys, before we get started, man, let's start giving everybody a warm welcome that's watching us. San Diego PD gang and robbery detective. He says, go Aztecs. A detective, retired detective Chris Kilby. Mike, right now I got a special presentation I'm going to do to you. Greetings from Littleton, Colorado. It's snowing and hailing at the same time. Prayers for you, brother, you and your family, that you get great weather. Looking forward to another great show. You're not going to be let down. It's going to be great. And Patsy, we have something special for you. Patsy Pie in the house. Beautiful Patsy Cruz, Benny Cruz's beautiful wife. We got VP 760. Good evening, gentlemen. Standing by for another great episode. You're not going to be disappointed. It's going to be outstanding. And we have nuestra hermana, our sister, that's been with us from the very beginning, all the way from Riverside. Saludos a todos. We got Batman, Dimjajan is watching us live all the way from Thailand. Brother, I'm waiting for another one of your episodes to come out. I can't wait to see it. Prayers for today, reaching souls. Hello, fellas. Jesus Christ loves you. Yes, he does. And we're blessed with that. We got Big Roberto Arce tomorrow. But Robert, we got a great show. And next week, we got another great show. Can't wait to see you tomorrow night, my brother. Salty Writer, mi no se habla, but you know how to spell it. So you're on the right track. And Gordo Gordito just retired on Friday after 25 years as a Chicago police officer. Hey, thank you for your service, brother. Today's the second day of retirement, and he's already driving his wife crazy. She's kicking him out of the house on Friday, sending him to Texas for a week by himself with the kids. He's driving her already crazy. Just messing with you, brother. Hey, congratulations. Thank you for your service.
We got to get him on. We got to get him on.
You know what? I've been asking him to come on. He's embarrassed, but you know what? God willing, we're going to get him on. Oh, yeah, I'd love to hear stories about Chicago. Oh, man, Gordo Gordito, we want you to come on. Ahora, ya oíste our producer, Benny. Hay que darle recio. RATJ, all the way, pura bordiza, huevo. Bienvenido.
They're here.
They're here. Oh, we're gonna start watching them all. Yeah, Gordito's laughing.
I just shared it. On my Instagram and
oh, really?
And on the group chat of the fan groups, and so people are gonna start showing up.
Oh, without a doubt, guys. You know what? Before they show up, while they show up, let's give a warm. You know what? Before we go to Mike, let's start off with happy birthday, Patsy. It was Patsy's birthday yesterday, the 17th. She's Benny Cruz's beautiful wife, and happy birthday from all three of us. Sean's not with us. He'll be with us next week. Feliz cumpleaños. Unas palabras, Chalo.
Patsy, well, you know what? Thank you for allowing Benny to come out and play with us once or twice a week. Happy birthday. May God give you some more wonderful years in health. And I hope Benny keeps on spoiling you. Happy birthday.
Or she spoils him.
Yeah. And there you
Fernando,
go.
Any words for Benny's wife?
No, happy birthday. She's been putting up with a guy like him for a very long time.
Yes.
Hope she keeps doing it for another 100 years.
That's right. Another 100 years. And guys, you know what? I also want to thank, mil gracias. I want to call you Denver Broncos Mike Martinez. He's watching us all the way from Littleton, Colorado. He's our brother in Christ and also our brother in law enforcement. Mike, thank you. He saw that sometimes once in a while I'll have the camera facing my Denver Broncos while I'm a huge Denver Broncos fan. And Mike this week sent me the Coke bottles, six-pack of the original Coke bottles of the, I believe it was 1998 Super Bowl in San Diego, where the Denver Broncos won their first Super Bowl against the Green Bay Packers. And you know what? I was working that Super Bowl in San Diego, and when John Elway scored that high where he turned around up in the air and landed for that scoring touchdown that won the game, I swear I was in full uniform. I was close to the field. I jumped up in the air. I forgot that I was a cop. I forgot that I was in charge of security. Well, not in charge, working security. I'm such a Denver Bronco fan that I literally, thank God nobody took a picture of me. I was like a little kid in a candy store. Mike, you know that we're Denver Bronco fans and we're going to the Super Bowl. Maybe not next year, but in 2. I'll see you there, brother. Thank you for the Coke bottles. Mil gracias from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, brother. With that said, guys, we're excited. We got Fernando Puente for El Bordo with us once again. Mil gracias de todo corazón, Fernando.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for keep inviting me.
Gracias. Without further ado, Benny, it's all yours.
Well, tonight it's Fernando Puente from El Bordo MX podcast. Fernando, thank you for joining us on the Gray Line, the story behind the Blue Line podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about Tijuana, Sona, Norte, the area known as El Bordo, and just everything. I mean, we're just going to cover everything along the border because Fernando has a lot of experience from hanging out with people down there and living the life himself a few times. Fernando, gracias for allowing us to profile your life. and your street knowledge of a Mexican city with so much to offer, yet it's considered one of the most dangerous places to live and visit.
Yeah,
And
it
you know,
definitely has
Benny,
a lot of plot twists. It's a city with a lot of plot twists. You know, You-
and you know, Fernando, everybody considers Tijuana. You know, at least over here in Florida, when they find out, they ask me, "Del mexicano, sí soy mexicano, I'm Mexican. What part of Mexico? Tijuana." I always throw Tijuana because that's where I was born. And whenever I say Tijuana, I mean everybody like, "Oh my God, that's the most dangerous city in the world." And I go, "I can't wait to cross the border and go eat some tacos in La Humada." You know, and they're like, "You cross?" Of course I do. You know, for the world, that's how they see it. But today, I think you're going to. It's not a fallacy. It is dangerous if you're involved in that world. If you're a tourist or and if you're a good citizen like yourself, trouble's not going to come to you. You know what I mean? And today, I think you're going to explain to everybody that's watching the show what is the real Tijuana. And the real Tijuana, to me, it's beautiful. La gente es gente buena, noble, pero también ahí hay un mugroso de vez en cuando, pero it's good. It's a good place. With that said, Benny, you want to start off?
Yeah, Fernando, we're gonna try to keep this one short because you've been on Ash Wednesday before, so
Yeah.
you spoke in depth about your life and who you are. But just tell us a quick synopsis of tell us about yourself. Where were you born? How was your childhood? And where did you go to school? And who is Fernando Puente?
yeah, well, I was actually born in Los Angeles. My mom, they're all from TJ. My grandma came from the south. She was like the first people that settled in my neighborhood, which is called Los Altos. So she settled there, and then she had my mom when there was this hospital or clinic that used to be in Sona Norte. You know where the police station is at, right next to the highway. Right next to it, there used to be a clinic way back in the day, and that's where my mom was born. So eventually, they had their papers legally and stuff, so they might come to work to San Diego. My mom started going to school in San Diego as well, and then like her younger sister and younger brother, they were born in San Diego after that. So when my mom had me when she was like 17, she practically drove to like an aunt's house we had out here in LA, and then I think like she started having the pains in TJ, and then she just drove straight to the hospital in LA or something like that. I don't think she even stayed out there. So as soon as I was born and I was in her arms, we're back in TJ. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I grew up. Um, to be honest, I feel more of a Tijuanense than a guy from LA, or an American citizen. But out here, like I always say, like this community in the border, we don't really see the border. It's like
Yeah.
people from San Diego and Tijuana. We mingle, we mix, we come and go. Like we share culture and stuff. So that's why that's kind of where the name of my podcast and the theme came as. This community of the border. El Bordo.
En el
Fernando, you went to
punto,
school in San Diego, didn't you?
Yeah, actually, first and second grade, I went to school in Tijuana, and then my family
Mhm.
was doing good, so I was going to a private school. But then when we weren't doing that good, my mom's she thought instead of sending me to public school in Tijuana, I might as well do public school in San Diego. So that on third grade on, that's when I started going to school out here in San Diego.
So Fernando, you really never lived in LA other than when you were a small
Yeah,
little baby for
exactly.
3 days.
And the only
Yeah.
times I've lived in LA is right now when I've been older. Like I've had to stay there for a few months and stuff like that because either working or like in the studios and stuff like that. So I've
Uh,
had to stay there a few times for like a couple months and stuff. But I'm you know what I mean? Like I've never. I like the culture. There's something that pulls me to that city a lot. I really like LA. Like the whole
yeah.
culture, everything. It kind of reminds me, or it kind of makes me feel as if Tijuana was a city in United States, it would be LA. I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
feel like in a way, like I don't know, it just feels familiar. I don't know because I was born there, or and I've always had this thing of like, oh, kind of the different dude because like, oh, you're born in LA. Like in Tijuana is like most of the times, if you're like a US citizen, you were born in San Diego, or San Isidro or stuff like that. But I was born in LA, the city that comes out in movies and Hollywood and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So everybody always like even the cops when I get pulled over, like, oh, de Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Like if it was like a big thing. So it just kind of settled, like, it starts mentalizando to like, oh, start getting put to the city. Well, I was born here, but at the same time, I'm, you know what I mean? No, we came. My mom and grandma came and went, but we never really spent time out there. Like, I don't have no childhood memories out there. I have childhood memories here in San Diego or obviously Tijuana, but not really in LA. But I like the city though. I like the culture. I like everything around LA and stuff like that. I like the Lakers,
Yeah.
but
The Dodgers.
yeah,
Don't forget the
uh,
Dodgers.
yeah. I mean, I don't know the Padres. I
Yep.
kind of I have mixed feelings with the Padres and the Dodgers, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
Lakers definitely all the way. The Lakers all the way.
Hey, go ahead, Chalo.
One of the things that people don't understand, unless you lived in a border town, you don't understand that fence that separates Tijuana with San Isidro, Mexicali and Calexico. It's just like a fence, like your neighbor's yard. It's
Yeah, yeah.
it's that fence.
And
So
what I've come to find out is the longer you are from the border, it means more to that people the farther they are. Because the
Yes.
closest you are, like I always tell the people, like, bro, from my house in San Diego, from my mom's house, I can see my grandma's house and el Cerro de Tijuana. Allá en Los Altos, like I can literally see it. It's not like from Monterrey all the way to like that you gotta drive hours. It's not like other places, but there's a lot of border cities like Calexico, like all these places where you can literally see the others, the other city, like it's walkable,
Hey, Fernando, when I was a police officer in Calexico, when I first started, there used to be a taco stand on Colon. Colon is a street that goes into the United States, into Calexico. And there was a place called Florestitas, un asadero. And we used to order our tacos through the fence, man. The fence had a big one. And so you would order 3-4 dozen tacos for the guys and the crew, and they'd bring you the tacos with all the fixings. So to me, como dices tú, the farther you're more away, the people, okay, the border, the wall, okay. And we're here right next to it, like, yeah, build it. We'll still get over it. We'll get over it underneath. They're still gonna get over it. It just
definitely.
It deters people. It doesn't really stop them. It deters them. They'll get around it. I mean,
Yeah, like I always say,
me.
I think it's more of a political thing when a new president comes around and he starts talking about the wall or the border. He knows there's votes there, like for good or for bad. You know what I mean? He if he talks good about it, if he talks bad about it, he knows there's gonna get votes. So I think at this point, like us growing up here in the border city, like we've seen all these kind of different politics and politicians come and go, and there's not really a difference. You know what I mean? Of people like the people that are here illegally, they know they're illegally, so they know they gotta. I mean, they know what they gotta do. But I think it's more like this righteousness of like, no, they're here and they're working, and yeah, but they also came here illegally, so they know, like, trust me, they know that they're here illegally, and they're trying to do it their own way. Some people think differently, whatever, but I mean, I've never really seen a difference in like the amount of people that come in or go out, or you know what I mean. I mean, I've known people that had their like legal visas, and then they left and it expired, and then they came here illegally, and they already know their way around because they live here, and then they left because I don't know, their mother was sick, so they went out to see her, and now they're back here again, and they're working and they're hustling in their own little, like they know how to do it. So I don't know, man. I think I've always thought that's more political. I think it's more.
Pero qué bonito, no? Isn't it beautiful to live in a border town? I always liked it.
I mean, it's you get the best of both sides. Like I mean, in a place like Tijuana, maybe it's like smaller cities like the other borders, but in Tijuana, where you have like this LA culture that drips down to like San Diego and Tijuana, and you have Tijuana, which is right now becoming a major city in Mexico with like almost 2 million people. And then it's also a city of immigrants, so you like a tourist immigrant city. So we get, I don't know, man. We're like it's I always say this piece of land from LA to like Rosarito. It's like you get everything. You got desert, you got snow, you got beaches, you got all kinds of. You got Democrats, you got red. You know what I mean? Like you got everything. It's like the little one of the most important places in the world. Like this piece of land. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I love it. I love it.
It's a melting pot. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, Fernando, let's not forget that you also went to Castle Park Junior High and Castle Park High School, and you're a Trojan at heart, just like I am. I was born in Tijuana. You were born in Tijuana.
Yeah,
and
that
you
was
know
great.
what? We both went to Castle Park, and you know what? And I'm sure when right now we mention Castle Park, we're gonna have a lot of Trojans come on. So don't forget to mention Castle Park Trojans, huh?
Yeah. I always kind of I mean, unless they ask me, but I never really say. But yeah, I went to both Castle Park Middle and Castle Park High.
Yeah.
It's
You
crazy.
talked
Yeah,
about it in our podcast, The Great Line.
and I see some people sometimes. I get messages from like, "Hey man, we went to school together. That's cool. This and that." I'm like, "Oh
Uh,
shit! All right, that's cool." Yeah.
Oh,
that's cool. Hey,
like,
Benny, let's go ahead. Let's start off with the next question so we could
hey,
catch up.
Hey, Fernando, Fernando. So tell us about your podcast, El Bordo. Why you named it El Bordo? How'd you get started with that? What gave you the motivation to start the podcast?
Well, I've always enjoyed like ever since it was a mix of things. Like for instance, I was always a fan of music, like hip hop and stuff like that, and the media in general. Because I remember we used to cross the border when my mom was going to drop me off at school. She came to work and dropped me off at school first, and then she went to work. But before she dropped me off, she always stopped by a 7-Eleven for a coffee. Always, always. So I was like, just peek around the 7-Eleven, always on the newspaper, the revistas and stuff,
Yeah.
and we'll see the like the Source, the Double XL, or just pop culture, magazines. So she will always buy me one. Like I will always try to get one, and I was always buying stuff like that, and always really like into media and follow and reading interviews and following like artists and stuff. I was really a hip hop lover. Then eventually in 2009, I'm 19, and at this point, I mean, I've always been a fan of music, so music has always followed me everywhere. But I was more, I was kind of more into the streets, like kind of left the creative side because I used to do graffiti, I used to draw a lot and write and tell stories and that all that whole creative thing. But then when started getting more involved in the streets, I kind of let that to the side and just kind of did my thing. And but then when I was on probation, once I got arrested, I did like 2 months in the MCC, and I got 3-year probation. Um, and then I was in San Diego, and I wasn't really used to living in San Diego. My mom had a house out here and everything, but I mean, I had like one or two friends out here maybe. So I was spending a lot of time in the house. Plus, I was in probation. I couldn't really do anything. So I started thinking about. I wonder where all these artists that I used to follow went. You know what I mean? So I started looking them up in the internet. We had Facebook by that time, and YouTube was coming up. So I just started looking up rappers. I remember Dr. Dre had a little podcast called The Pharmacy. And I'm a big Dr. Dre fan. So that's how I kind of started getting back into it. Like I found out about like Nipsey Hussle, Kendrick Lamar, like this new West Coast artist that was coming up from the music I like. And then I also love comedy, like the Def Comedy Jam and poetry and all that. I was always a fan. So I started just getting into the YouTube and finding all these types of different content. And there wasn't really any content in Spanish, but like radio and news, you know what I mean? And the internet. So I mean, I always kind of had the idea of like, hey, somebody should make something like this in Spanish. But it wasn't until like 20 2018 I started in 2016 I started hanging out and getting into the music thing, the entertainment media, with a friend that became famous. And I was I was like the sidekick on that mission, so I kind of learned everything on second person view. So I kind of got everything about the media. I was like, man, I want to do a podcast, but I wanted to produce it because at this point, like I don't know, I've you know growing up as a bandido, as we say, like you don't really want your face on the camera, or you have that social awkwardness of like everybody knowing who you are when when you come from this life in the streets. So I was always trying to be the man behind the camera, and I would show examples of like I don't know if you heard the podcast Drink Champs, or just different podcasts in English that I've heard, or satellite radio, the comedians. And I was always trying to get people like that were more extroverts, like, hey, wait, you should do this and host this show. Yo lo produzco, like I'll get you some guests and stuff like that. But everybody told me like, nah, this is your idea, you should do it, whatever. So I didn't really get to do it till 2022, I think, where I finally got like, I didn't know how to do it or anything. I just started like renting. Like I told a guy that produces videos, I was like, hey, how can we shoot a podcast? He had no idea, but we tried it, and I just been learning on the way. Just thinking how to do it and ingeniándomela, as we say in Spanish, ahí aprendiendo. But yeah. I mean, just for following all my favorite artists and seeing them on YouTube kind of got me sparked on like, hey, we should be doing this in Spanish too. And now we have a lot.
And you know what, Fernando? You've had a lot of very interesting and famous people on your show. I mean, you've had both of the twins, Margarito and his brother. You've had which is
Oh,
one?
just one,
Yeah,
just one,
Margarito. Yeah, Margarito.
just Jay, yeah, just
Jay.
Jay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've had just Jay. Yeah, you had Jay, and it was like a 4-hour interview, which was outstanding. You 6-hour
6
interview.
hours.
Yeah, I mean, we had him on ours, and it was 1 hour twice, right, Benny? I think we had him twice. It was 2-hour interview, and I mean, a 6-hour interview, which was outstanding. I think I lost it at 4 hours, so that's why I went
Yeah.
4, but it was 6. But I mean, you've had El Gordo Villarreal. I mean, I know by phone he's doing time in prison. You've had
Yeah.
one of the Scamilla brothers, Ivan. You've had a lot of rappers.
Fausto.
Oh, Fausto. You have Fausto.
Yeah, Fausto.
El Taliban. You've
Rappers.
had him. Rappers. I mean, dude, you have had a lot of, and not only that, but you also have had, you've been on a lot of US podcasts
Mhm.
where some of these guys, I mean, the guys that I saw, I don't have their names here in front of me, but they have 50, 80,000 followers. And I mean, I think on one, you had 250 views, 1,000 views. So, I mean, you're El Bordo. It
Yeah,
ain't,
no,
it ain't
they're
something small. It's blowing up. It's something very, very big. That is
Yeah, no,
outstanding,
they're-
man. Yeah.
they're big platforms. Yeah, they're big platforms. Some of them have
Yeah.
millions, and
You know,
some of them
you
actually
know,
too have come to TJ, and they asked me to show them around. So I've been on their channel while they're vlogging in TJ, and I show them like
Yeah.
Sona Norte. I show them my neighborhood and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
you know,
it's
Fernando,
fun.
one of the bigger ones you've had over there that is very popular and very hard to get is Ed Manifesto.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
El Ed,
another one
Tio
I
Ed,
forgot about
Tio
him.
Ed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tio Ed. Yeah. I remember I first seen him in the Joe Rogan. I think that's where we all met him. The first one, and it was crazy because when I saw the title, the Joe Rogan, like I said, we always enjoyed podcasts and stuff, but this wasn't really allowed in Spanish, and y menos de Tijuana, you know. So when I saw like the title and the Joe Rogan, and I clicked on it, and he was talking about his stuff, I was like, man, he's right on point. I was like, who is this guy? I thought it was gonna be like a fraud, or you know what I mean, like a fake or something. But nah, he was really on point on like 95% of the stuff he was saying. So after that, I started following him and stuff, and I didn't really try to communicate with him till I had the podcast and stuff, and people just started bugging us of we should work together. And yeah, he saw my stuff, and he started sharing it without knowing me. You know, he just shared some of my reels, gave me a
Yeah.
bunch of followers because his platform was big already, and then we just started talking, and yeah, we got together, and it's fun. He's a very interesting person to talk to. He's very
Yeah.
Hey, Fernando, I
very smart.
saw that he has an office. I guess he has offices in different places. I mean, he's made it pretty big, but one of these offices is right there in La Zona Norte. I saw that video. So, does he go to the Zona Norte a lot, and does he actually record out of that office in La Zona Norte?
Yes, he does. Yeah, he
Really?
does when
Okay.
yeah. It's funny because it was literally like cut like almost right around the corner of the places we went to visit that was dangerous. Like
Oh,
a
yes,
dangerous
yeah.
transit. So
Pues está
yeah,
cerca del el Hong Kong, todo
yeah,
ahí en la
yeah,
zona norte, ahí donde
yeah. La
está
Zona
la
Norte. Yeah.
cochinada,
So
Simón.
when he sent me the location, I was like, really? Like I was trying to think, like, I wonder what building they had to rebuild a building. I don't think he's recording in these one of these old houses that I remember, being around on.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I got there, yeah, it's a brand new building. Like they demolished some old houses, and it's like a brand new building. Um, and yeah, it's nice. It's a very nice. It's a very nice. They have like other stores. They rent like other like locales and stuff, and he has a studio right there where
Have
they
you
shoot
met
it.
him? Have you ever seen him, Chalo, Calderon?
I've heard some of the stuff, just clips on YouTube, like small.
You know, he used to be a PEP officer, Policía Estatal Preventiva, in the state, and he was actually working a lot in Mexicali, right there in Calexico. I'm sure that you have met him once or twice when you were a liaison.
If he was between 2002 and to 2010, I probably ran into him
Yeah.
both times, especially if
Yeah,
he was.
he was around back then because that's when Leisaola made chief, and he was Leisaola's, I believe, driver or something before
Okay.
2009. So yeah, he was around in 2005, I think 2006. So yeah, you without a doubt you've met him before.
But yeah,
Go
he's
ahead.
a very cool. He's a very cool guy. Very honest. Very
Yeah.
transparent. Very
Yeah.
Good.
very open too. He talks a lot about his feelings, his traumas, and stuff like that. Yeah, he's very cool. He's a very good friend.
Well, you know what? Give us his number, and we're going to reach out to him. Hopefully, we're not a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
too
yeah,
small for him, and we'd be honored to have him on our show with us. It'd be great.
yeah, yeah. I'll definitely tell him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead,
Fernando,
Benny.
tell us about Zona Norte. What type of area is Zona Norte? Is it a dangerous area? What part of Tijuana is it located? And I understand it's mainly known for the red light district and much of the adult entertainment.
Yeah. Well, Sona Norte is. I mean, it's very crazy, man. Because like I said, I've seen just pretty much a lot of everything there. From I have this very memorable thing that I always tell on the podcast of like I remember one time it was like 2, 3 in the morning and we were walking around like just a group of friends and and on one side of the street like one block after the red light district, kind of where it gets a little darker and where it's more Zona Norte people and not tourist area. And there were some guys fighting with two machetes like on this side of the street. We had a lady selling like tamales or something or hot dogs in the street in the corner. And the other side of the street, there's a tiendita open, like a store, local store. And there's a girl standing outside, probably like 18ish with a short dress working. And then there's like little girls and little kids playing, and there's like dogs eating, and it's just crazy, man. And it depends on what part of it you're walking around because there's some dark areas, or if you go to El Bordo, where it's like literally like El Canal or like under that little highway, where it's like a whole nother city, like I don't know, man. If right now you can see documentaries on it, it would be hard for me to describe it, but um,
It's a twilight zone.
yeah, that's it's
So
crazy, man.
are we talking about El Bordo now? Are we still talking about ahí la zona norte? Are
He's
we talking
describing
about
the
No,
El
no,
area.
well, I
Bordo?
mean, it's on. I kind of started in Son Norte, where like the red light district is at. Like, like once you go off where those lights hit, it's just a bunch of random shit going on. Like I said, like it could be two guys fighting with a machete, or it could be just some regular stuff going on. Like if it was 2, 3 p.m., but it's actually 2, 3 a.m. You
Hey,
know,
that's a
um,
cool bunker.
there's a lot of little trap stores or picaderos, like where people hide and stuff like that. And it's crazy because once the government starts coming in, like a few blocks before, you see a lot of people yelling, "Hey, gobierno, gobierno, gobierno!" And like everybody just starts hiding stuff and running away and shit like that. I don't know, man. It's one of those things that you're like, this is like a movie. You know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah.
saw this in a movie, you'd be like, nah, tan exagerando. You know what I mean? But not like last week or 2 weeks ago, they took down like 80 cameras that were set up around all Zona Norte. Not government cameras, like someone else's cameras. So
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah, this was
That's
like 2 weeks
interesting.
ago. They
Uh-huh.
they took down like 80 of them. Yeah, like yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Hey,
So
Fernando, how is the fentanyl crisis affecting El Bordo right now? I know heroin and stuff like that and
Well,
meth.
affecting Tijuana, not just El Bordo. How's
No,
that
no,
affecting
no, but
Tijuana?
Tijuana, yeah, we know it's
Yeah.
affecting everybody, but I mean, but right there in the
well,
place, no man's land, it's got to be worse, right?
I think, man, I don't want to simplify this too, but that whole thing about like new drugs coming out, it also gets to a point where it's very political, man. Because I that little uh that little road from once you exit Tijuana through in a car and then you catch the Via Rápida going to El Soler. I've driven that since I was in third grade, in elementary. And ever since I was young, I remember being like either in traffic or on our way right there with the fences, and I've
Yeah.
always seen people like laying there like either dead or passed out with the jeringa on you know what I mean on the arm. I've like those memories I've had them since forever. So every time they bring out this new drug, and then the crystal meth came, and now it's fentanyl. It's like it's kind of the same thing. You don't see more, you just see it now. You pay attention to it, maybe because of cameras, or maybe because there's more media coverage and stuff, or maybe because they use it to politicize. It's definitely a worse drug than what heroin is, because it just kills you quicker. It's stronger. But I mean, I don't really see the difference in You know what I mean? Like as I've been seeing in Zona Norte. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's always been a spot where either the gabachos come and they get high right there and they stay there in Zona Norte and they cross back, ya todos locos, or it's just locals from there, or the porties and stuff. But that whole area, they've always been hooked on something, Before fentanyl, it was like I said, I remember seeing ahí in the fence, just people laying down with like looked like they were taking a shit or somebody got to them because their pants were like a media pierna and they're just laying there with the jeringa. And this is like I've seen this is like I said since I was in third, fourth grade, which has to be like I don't know 98, 99. You know what I mean? Something like that. So yeah, I mean I think it's bad. It's definitely bad. There's this guy, I think his name is Mark, that he helps all the people that are addicted on drugs and like hard drugs in El Bordo. He helps them. He's always walking around there, like giving them like the narcam and all that stuff, or just attending them and stuff. And he's been doing these documentaries with people with influencers and stuff, and he shows them around anything. He's actually helped some of my friends that ended up there, unfortunately like lost and in their life and hooked on drugs.
Is
And
this guy Mark? Is he an American citizen that goes
no,
down
he's
there, or
no,
is
no,
he
no,
de
he's
Tijuana?
él
¿Es
es de
mexicano?
Tijuana. Yeah, es de ahí de
Ah,
Tijuana. Yeah. So
¿y se dice Mark or Marcos?
no, it's because I can't remember his name because last time I was watching this girl that went. Her name is Eva Berenstein. She did like three walkarounds in El Bordo, and she went with him, and he actually got her in the tunnels, like inside,
Really?
like yeah, all the way inside. And
Wow.
I think I
Okay.
sent the
Yeah.
link to Benny, right? I think I sent
Yeah.
the link of
Yeah. I
the
just put it up right now. Yeah.
yeah. And but yeah, but this guy, he's been helping those people for the longest, and he's like a blessing to him. To be honest, he's helped many people there.
Fernando, I was telling Benny, when I was working Mexico liaison for the San Diego Police Department, our criminal intelligence unit, the last time that I was there in El Bordo was in 2012. We would go literally with Alejandro Lares, who was the liaison, and Charlie Betancourt. They were police officers back then. And now Alejandro Lares eventually became el Secretario de Seguridad Pública, the chief of police. But when I was working for him, he was the liaison. So we would go every time we would have a U.S. citizen, or we were looking for somebody that was wanted for murder, or we would start off at El Bordo. And you don't know how many people we actually arrested there, how many people we saved there. And when you talk about the tunnels, it is a different world. When you guys go think about Tijuana, those of you that go across the border, those of you that go to La Revolucion, go to downtown, go to the Rio, you never hear about El Bordo. But just picture this. This is El Bordo. If you watch that show, I think it's called Night of the Living Dead, where there's zombies going around. I mean, I am serious. Zona Norte, it's bad, but it's beautiful compared to El Bordo. I mean, you have zombies. It's the devil's playground. Literally, it's a devil's playground.
Yeah, because I mean,
yeah.
Zona Norte is a neighborhood, but it's a dangerous neighborhood, but it's still a neighborhood. Like you can still see families, and you see like
Yes.
civilian stuff going on. But once
Yeah.
you get close to the fence and under those tunnels and the ñongos and stuff, oh no, it's a Twilight Zone over there.
It's
the
a
walking
Twilight
dead.
Zone, without a doubt. Yes. And Benny, you went over there too when you were working a murder. Was it a murder case that you were working, or you just went down there to hang out because your wife kicked you out?
No, I was
Which
hanging
one
out.
was it?
I was up there a couple of times, and it's a total different world when it gets dark.
Uh-huh.
When it gets dark, it's really when it starts happening. It starts popping. I was.
You
up
kind
there,
of feel
I
like
think it was,
my bad, man.
look, dale gas.
I was gonna say you kind of feel like I don't know. I can't remember really in a specific movie, but there's been some movies where like the main character ends up in the middle of the jungle at night. He's lost or whatever. That's kind of how it feels like. You're in the jungle and then it's at night. You can't see, so you just hear noises. And you just hear like
It's eerie.
people scrambling around. Yeah, it's very eerie. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It's a
but
jungle.
I
It's a
was up
concrete
there,
jungle, definitely.
I think in 2006, 2007, maybe a little earlier, and then again in 2005. I
Well, that was
believe,
definitely the time I
2006.
was walking around there, like 2006. That was definitely when I was just hanging around there and like going to
Yeah, and you know
Revolucion
what? It was very
and coming
different. It
back.
was a lot more people, more and more
Yeah.
people.
And everybody was a site back then. Everybody was like not really a lot of internet. Like because I remember we used to hang out at these cafes where they rented the computers. The cafe internet,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where my generation started like that was our hangout spot, like in the Cafe Internet, and that's where all the girls or guys or the little groups from the neighborhood kicked it at. So there was one in Revolucion, right next, right under the Club Buckets, on Segunda and Revolucion, right on that corner. So that's where we all used to hang out, like the Zona Norte, Los Altos, Iforaví, like all these places, like Alemán, La Castillo. We would kick it there, and then we would only go up to like 4th Street, Calle Cuarta, because like Calle Quinta and Sexta, that was de la Liber 18, so that was
Yeah.
Los Güeyes de la Libertad, Otay, like all other guys. So it was fighting and stuff like that, and yeah, it's just crazy. And I mean, right now when time passed, I remember one of my friends that became a musician. He plays corridos. He's famous, so he would get hired a lot by the guys from La Sanchez, which became an area known for like being Nueva Generación, the cartel. But La
Mhm.
Sanchez is not close to downtown. It's more over there to like the
To
east
the
side of
east.
Tijuana, I think. Yeah. So when those guys came back in those days, when those guys came to cruise around Revolucion, we'll beat them up, we'll fuck them up, and it was just like Cholo thing. So now when I'm older and my friends like, hey, wait, I got a party allá en La Sanchez with so and so. I'm like, nah, wait, because those fools used to be, they're my age, they used to be taggers, and I don't want to be stuck in a situation where it's like, hey, I remember you. You know what I mean? I've been there, and I don't want to be, now that they have power and they can just fucking kill me and whatever. I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
wait. So I wouldn't go to parties. I mean, now I met some guys from there and stuff like that, but yeah, it was a point where I like, nah, wait, I don't even want to go to, because most of them were my age, and most of the guys that were working for the cartel, like we came from the same generation, so they used to be graffiti writers back then, and we beat those guys up every time they showed up to Avenida Revolucion. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to be in that situation where someone remembers me of, you know what I mean, of some wrongdoings.
Hey,
A lot
hey,
of
go ahead,
a
Benny.
lot of people that they think that El Bordo is just like a skid row. It's not like a skid row. It's
That's a
very
different
No.
different.
world.
Because
No.
I've
Well,
been to LA, I've been to Skid Row. We've been to San Diego, where you got all the homeless and the crazies. This place, you got kids, you got families. I mean, you got
people
people that
selling
actually
food.
live
Yeah,
there. It's
yeah,
total different. It's a city within a city.
yeah,
Es otra colonia, güey. Es de lo que es.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
definitely another
you know
world.
what, Fernando? Before Benny goes into the cartels, I have a question about gangs. You know, I was working at Donovan State Prison back in '87. We opened up Donovan Prison, and in '88, they used to bring all the inmates that were going to be deported back to Mexico throughout the state, from Folsom to Tehachapi, San Luis Obispo, San Quentin. Even in '89, they started bringing from Pelican Bay, and they would put them in Yard One at Donovan State Prison, and then from Donovan, they put them in a bus. They get they'd go into prison, they'd stay 3 or 4 months, they get deported, and they would literally take them right to La Linea, right there at
Hmm.
700 East San Isidro Boulevard. And
Hmm.
there were times that I was working R&R, receiving and release, so I'm the one that had to strip them down, make sure they weren't taking any drugs, and we'd put them. I was the one that actually put them in the buses with chains. They would literally, immigration would take them to the border, and this is back in '87, '88, and I always predicted all these guys, they're from Fifth and Hill from Los Angeles, they're from 18th Street, they're from Hoyo Mara, and they all got deported. And they were going straight to Tijuana. They weren't taking them to El Centro. They weren't taking them to Mexicali. They weren't taking them to maybe later on when the prisons were over there created, Calipatria and all the other ones they started. But then it was only Donovan, and we would take them. What impact did that have? I mean, you got guys in la Pancho Villa que son de la calle 18. You got guys in la Colonia Herrera que son de Logan. I mean, these all guys basically were flooding Tijuana, and they were deported. They were gangsters, and they started their own gangs down there, Fifth and Hill, and we could go on. Mara, Ford Mara. What impact did that have at Tijuana, and what are we seeing today?
It's crazy because a lot of those guys that spoke English were, I mean, I remember my mom telling me stories of like the early 90s and 80s where they could just go up, like go to the border and be like, I'm a U.S. citizen. And they will let you go. If you had good English, they will let you cross.
Mhm.
So it's crazy. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, they brought a lot of that Cholo culture, to Tijuana,
Yeah.
a lot of that. Yeah, from even before those times, I think that culture always dripped down to Tijuana, like the low riding and
Mhm.
just people coming and going and the deportations. It's part of that
Yeah.
coming and going. It's sharing and mixing that culture. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I was in the MCC, I they moved me to a couple places like California City and Geo and stuff. And every time I showed up, I kind of had this kind of had to had this talk with like the Sureños, because back then I had a LA tattoo on my leg, but I was born in LA, but I lived in Los Altos. You
And
know what I
you
mean?
only
That's
lived
my
in LA
neighborhood.
for three. You only lived in LA for 3 days.
Not even, probably just the night que parió mi mamá, and then as soon as they gave it to, what I mean, we were back in Tijuana.
Vámonos.
Yeah.
So, but I had this thing of like, okay, LA, Los Angeles, and Los Altos, where I'm
Yeah.
from.
Oh yeah, Los Altos.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Los
Yeah.
Altos. That's my
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Uh,
So obviously, I had to have these talks where they were like, "Nah, wait, tú eres un homie, and you're trying to come up as a paisa." Because I was like, "I'm a paisa, like, yo soy
yeah.
paisa, carnal. Like, I don't know stuff about your gangs. I respect,
Yeah.
mi respeto y todo, pero I work different, So I was always coming up and be like, "Nah, I'm a paisa," but the homies eventually be like, "Hey, wait, can we talk? Can we talk to you real fast? Like, what's up with that tattoo and this and that?" So I would have to explain. You're like, "No, wait, pues mira, I was born in LA." Like, kind of give you the same thing I told you guys.
Same thing. Yes.
And
Los Altos.
yeah, and I mean, to my luck, I've always been like a little like bien callejero, so I'm kind of known. So all these places they took me, there was at least one or two people that knew me from outside, or we knew people in common. That could be like,
Mhm.
no, no, es el morro de allá de los Altos. You know what I mean? Like kind of stuff
Uh,
like that. So, and then I was also never in any gang, because when they asked me like what school you went to, I was like, yeah, I went to Castle Park,
mhm.
and I know the guys from Otay, and even they could know because some of them went to parties in TJ. They had cousins in TJ, so they would see me at those parties over there being all paisa out. You know what I mean? So I
Uh,
kind of had to prove my paisaness, but then it got to this point where I remember I told one of their what do you call it, their repras,
yeah.
of the homies, because he was like, "Hey, wait,
Oh,
oh,
el llavero. El
yeah,
llavero.
yeah, yeah, yeah."
Yeah.
We're kind of not going back and forth, but in a carrilla where he was like,
Mhm.
"Man, all these paisas claiming Tijuana and Sinaloa, and they're all born in Chula Vista and Los Angeles." I was like,
Yeah.
man, all these homies in here for illegal entry, pero hay que la Florencia, y que, you know what I mean? Like, but
Uh,
you're born in Michoacán and in Oaxaca and all these places. Like, so we kind of had a laugh there, but we're being real.
yeah.
He was being real, and I was being real, but
Yeah.
it's this mix of things where like, yeah, wait, a lot of these homies are here for illegal entry, carnal. What are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? None of you guys were born in your neighborhood, like. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was always this thing of like me being of a like, is this a is this a homie or a paisa? Because even when I was younger, I would dress a little more like tumbado-ish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as time went by, I've been more paisa and more paisa. And now I do it more in purpose. You know what I mean? Like I want to
Yeah.
let it known that that's me. Yeah. But
The
yeah,
paisa.
it's
Fernando.
Yeah.
Fernando, when I worked the jail, we did classification. And every time we got people from Tijuana, nobody ever identified themselves as a gang member out of a specific gang from Tijuana. They always say Tijuas, Tijuas. So we
Tijuas,
used to
Tijuas.
document.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We used to document everybody as Tijuas. Same thing in the
yeah,
valley. When I worked in Imperial Valley, we got people from Mexicali. They never identify themselves. So it's soy de la libertad. They always say Chicale, Chicale, Chicale. So that's how we used to
yeah,
classify people: Chicale and Tijuas.
Hey, Benny, but back then, I mean, you're talking about the 80s, right? When you were working
Yeah,
the
yeah.
jails. You know what? Paisas, the word didn't even exist back then.
No,
We in prison in the 80s were calling them border brothers. They were known as border brothers of the California Department of Corrections. We didn't even know the word paisas. He's a border brother. Orale, ahí llegan los border brothers. I believe they called themselves paisas, but it was more border brothers. But now I think that the classifications, they now call themselves, hey, I'm soy paisa, and they actually classify them as a border brother / paisa.
Yeah.
yeah. Just having like when I was growing up, I was always the youngest in my little crew or my bolitas or everywhere, So like I always had older people that had been inside already or been in jail and stuff, and they would explain to you kind of like the difference of like a paisa, and they would tell like, no, güey, si tú un día caes, you're a paisa, no te vayas
Yeah.
con los homies, or if that's what you want to do, pues jálate, you know what I mean? Pero if a ti te toca, being a paisa because we grew up here, like, and I understand because I never lived out here. I mean, even though my mom she started getting like her apartments out here and stuff like that. I never really lived out here for a lot or became part of any crew or any gang or anything. I had the guys from Otay, but like I was saying in the other podcast we did, like that's kind of when the whole paisa thing started because in high school you have the cholos, the homies, and then you have like the football players and all these, and then we have the paisas, the guys that ride the
Yeah.
bus to TJ, and nos vemos en la línea todos los días. I see this guy at the line, we catch the same trolley, we catch the same bus, we go to school, we probably don't talk in school, but then after school, we hop on the same bus, we hop on the same trolley, and then we hop on the same camion allá in Tijuana. And so it was us, like the Tijuas or the paisas. We weren't paisas back then, like you said, the word wasn't really popular, so we were the Tijuas, and then
Iguas,
there were
yeah.
the cholos, and there were all this different stuff. But it was always that kind of difference in that line.
Go ahead, Benny, with question 5.
Fernando, who controls? I mean, there's a lot of influence with the cartels in Tijuana. You got three major cartels fighting for the territory, but who controls Zona Norte, and how dangerous is Tijuana with those cartels fighting each other?
It's very dangerous because when there's like wartime amongst them, like a lot of people take advantage, and I don't know if some crackhead had a problem with his neighbor. He takes advantage of like this war going on, so he could just shoot him, and they could just blame him as, oh, pues lo mató el cartel. He must have been doing something. You know what I mean? So that's where it sucks because it's not really between them. You know what I mean? There's a lot of innocent lives get taken. Also like the people were standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. And stuff like that. So that's what makes it worse. Also, the police gets tougher with everybody, because they don't know who's who, so they're just tough with everybody, even with like innocent people and stuff like that. And then there's bad cops that take advantage of that, of, oh, we're already being tough, so I might as well shake this guy down. You know what I mean? So it just trickles down a whole lot of negative things that start happening. But who really controls Zona Norte? I mean, the thing with these trap houses and the crack meth heads and stuff, those guys are very bipolar, man. One day they're with Sinaloa, the other day they're with Tijuana until they get killed. Some of them been with all the cartels. You know what I mean? And then they're back in with the same guys, but it's mostly controlled by the Tijuana. But right now it's very much like Crips and Bloods, man. It's like 4 or 5 blocks are controlled by these guys, and the other 5 blocks are controlled by the other guys, and it's very much like Crips and Bloods right now, I would say.
That's a great answer. That we understand. Yeah.
So every corner has a different set. I mean, every corner has a different cartel controlándolo.
Not every corner, pero big areas. Like 5, 6 blocks are from like the los de la zona. The remaining ones from they used to be with the Arianos. But then there's like maybe 6 or other 4 blocks over there that los Sinaloas are starting coming in. They're controlling that little area. So there's a lot of shooting there. Están matando a los tiradores. You know what I mean? Pero it's all it's all because they're methods. You know what I mean? They're not gonna think straight or be like, oh, I'm gonna be loyal to my crew and then we're gonna defend this area. It's like, nah, you know what I mean? Like if you're on a sick one, as to say it, you're just gonna start messing up and betraying and doing all kinds of weird stuff. And that's the thing with that market, man. The thing is the las tienditas, they make a lot of money, but they're also in this meth head environment. You know what I mean? Where how meth heads are, man. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. It's they're on their own little thing, and those are the dangerous ones. But at the same time, they make a lot of money, so they gave the government a lot of money, so they just kind of let it fly.
Go ahead, Chalo, with question 6.
Hey, so we kind of talked about murder and stuff like that, but what's going on with the women getting killed in Tijuana? How are they getting killed? Are the cartels the only ones committing crimes such as murders, kidnappings, robberies? And why does Tijuana have such a high murder rate?
Like I said, it's, to be honest, the like los feminicidios, I think they come because it's just people that take advantage of all these deaths that they know they're not gonna solve them. Like 90% go and solve, or probably more. So it's just people that like it could be a regular Uber driver. Most of these people that like taking girls, a lot of them have been either taxi drivers or Uber that pick them up after a party and stuff like that, and they think it's easy, just do whatever they're gonna do and drop them out allá por el Boulevard 2000, and the outsides of the city, where they drop everybody else, where the cartel drops their deaths. You know what I mean? So it's that trickle down of like, there's a lot of violence amongst the cartel. They create this ambient of like they're not gonna solve all their crimes. I might as well get away with mine. Might as well do my stuff, and it's a bigger chance that I'm gonna get away with it. So I think that's where that happens because I mean I know I'm not trying to speak good on the cartels or anything, but a lot of the guys that are right now do mind their business. They don't want to get the city hot because they want to stay low key. A lot of them, even right now where they got the designation of terrorists, Tijuana wasn't mentioned. They mentioned like Sinaloa and other places, but these small organizations that have been more low key, they want to stay there, because that's what has kept them for many years. The guys that are controlling right now, they've been there for more than 10 years right now. And they've been very low key. So a lot of them don't really wouldn't do stuff like that. So I think it's more low level people, it's very low or people outside of the cartel that do these like killing women and stuff like that,
If Fernando, I always said that and everybody knows, all cops, we all think are the same, and even regular, you don't have to be a cop, but I've always said that these guys that kill these women are a bunch of predators going out there. They find a weak person, like you said, that's been partying, drinking. They pick them up, they go and they rape them, and they say, you know what, man? Oh man, I raped her. She's gonna go to the police. I'm gonna get done. So you know what? We're gonna kill him. You know what? We're gonna make him disappear. And unfortunately, I think that as a government, both in the U.S. and in Mexico, we fail when it comes to investigating these types of crimes. Even though they say they're going after them, they're finding. You know what? They're not really, because if they really wanted to go out there, I'm pretty sure they can work hand in hand with even the with criminals. Use as informants or you put pressure on the cartel, and you say, hey, you know what? If we keep on having these senseless murders of women, we're gonna put more heat on you. Guess what's gonna happen? The cartel's gonna go regulate. They're gonna go regulate the problem, and you know what? They're
gonna start turning people in, and yeah.
Oh, they're gonna start going out, and you're gonna find a bunch of dead guys. But guess what? Once you see these dead guys, there's not gonna be that many dead women no more.
Yeah, once the word spreads out that nobody, like everybody's against it, like even cartel and government, people are gonna start like thinking twice, or looking at it as not that easy. But I mean, it sucks, man, because it sucks because even the Uber drivers, they're getting killed for their little Versa, their little Tercel, their little working car, and their 200, 300, 600 pesos that they had making that day. They're getting killed as well just because.
And those are all the meth people. The meth.
That's the meth, man. I mean, that's one of those. I hate that drug, man, because it's. I mean, this is gonna sound cruel or anything, but at least fentanyl, like it puts an end to the suffering, in a way. But these guys, man, they're indestructible, and they survive all this stuff, and they just keep committing, like causando el terror, to their families, to everybody. So it's something that.
Check this out, Fernando. Just recently, I was at with some of my buddies, and we're talking. We're a bunch of cops, and says, "Man, you know what? The best era for me when I was a cop was, and unfortunately, we were talking about dealing with different types of drugs. I said a heroin addict. I love heroin addicts, man. I said you just put them against the wall. You don't talk to them. They nod off, man. They don't give you a problem. A meth head, bro. That guy can't even sit for half a second, and they're the most whiny, crying, unpredictable.
You come get him. He's up in the roof. His mom, like, she's beating up. He sold a bunch of shit from his house. Like, it's just creating this major problem, man. It sucks. I mean, meth is one of those things that go like unlooked. You know what I mean? That fentanyl is bad and all that stuff, but meth is something that's been there. Like, if it was a musician, he's been charting since forever. You know what I mean? He'd be one of those artists that just never goes. Nunca pasa de moda, you know what I mean? Yeah. And people leave it there, and it sucks because we should have these campaigns as like fentanyl. We should have them for meth too, you know what I mean?
Well, it's like you said, it's political. They use it as a political tool.
Yeah.
One of the things. What about women that are visiting Tijuana, tourists? Do we have any of those women going missing and they're just not being reported? Because here we have Lupa saying some of the women are tweakers who go from trap house to trap house, setting others up until they get found out. Maybe that's the reason why. But we have a lot of innocent women, just like they had innocent women dying in Juarez. That is occurring, but it's not being it's not being publicized by the media, and I believe because they don't want to scare the tourists from going to Tijuana. Is it what Lupe is saying, or is there a lot of innocent women that are going missing?
I think it's both. I think it's both. You have a lot of women involved in like what Lupe was saying. A lot of them they just bring chismes.
Yeah,
They're telling on this guy, they're telling that guy, and they're probably going out with a cop too, and they're being active in this activity. So yeah, many of them are involved in the cartel or had something to do, but definitely a lot of them are innocent too. A lot of them are
yeah.
just pure that they caught the wrong Uber, or they caught the wrong taxi driver, they were dating the wrong guy. You know what I mean? There's definitely a lot of that. There's a lot of both.
Yeah.
Hey,
Fernando, go ahead, Chalo.
and since you talked about that, what about in Mexicali? And I know it happens in Tijuana too, but in Mexicali, the last 2 years, and we see it here on our social media pages that here from Imperial County, Mexicali, a lot of kids, or not kids, a lot of young fellas are disappearing off of antros, good antros too. They
I
go
read that in Mexicali. I read that in
disappear,
Mexicali.
bro. Is it happening in Tijuana too?
Well, the thing is, the guys that own those antros and the people that got out there. I mean, I don't want to out anybody. They already not like me. The guys that control Mexicali, I had some bad stuff around with them, but those are the guys that were making all that happen. Just because it gets to a point where, I mean, many of you, I'm pretty sure you remember when Ramon Arellano had everything unlocked, all the things he did because nobody could touch him. You know what I mean? And that happens like in Mexicali, where there's people that have everything unlocked, where they just feel like, ese güey me miró mal, la verga, llévatelo. You know what I mean? Where it just gets to that point of using power. And I think that's what happened there, because in Tijuana, you can't have that happening because the entrepreneurship community, they're very strong too, and they got a lot of money. So you know what I mean? Different politics on that.
So real quick, like Fernando, I use the word antro, and antro is a nightclub in Mexicali,
Yeah.
or anywhere in Mexico. And antro is a place where a lot of people go, music, bar scene, really nice places. And you have a point there. So I've always said, when you go to those places, and I've told my kid, I prefer him not to go down there, but I tell him, if you ever go to that place, don't flirt. Be careful who you flirt with. If a chick just, because you don't know if she's a girlfriend of one of the cartel guys that are there that day, or she's a boyfriend. I said, they'll make you disappear so fast, even though she's the one that came to you. You know what? You're a guy from the outside. You smell like a guy from the outside. You act like a guy from the outside. You go there and you do something stupid. Take her out to dance, or ask her out to dance, or she sits down with you for a couple of seconds, and guess what, man? Before you know it, boom, ya vas para allá para la salada.
Yeah, but I mean, those stories are because they're scary and stuff. But to be honest, I hear more stories of like people going down there and even like almost getting in fights with like a cartel guy, but they somehow managed to settle down where they ended up being buddies. They were cool at the end. We drank with them, and at first they looked like they wanted to kill us, but then we were cool. You get a lot of those stories too, where it's like, just don't escalate the situation. If you're already there, like you're not in your terrain, just be like, hey, wait, perdón, I didn't know, whatever, try to escalate. A lot of times, those guys are you tienen esos locos, there's a lot of crazy ones, but there's a lot of them that are not gonna want to like just, like.
But you don't know, bro. You're an outsider.
Pero you don't know, pero you're an outsider, so always try to like be cool, be on your toes and toes. Si se te queda viendo gente, like sometimes it's better just, even me as a local, sometimes I'd rather just go to another club. You know what I mean? Like, there's like tanto esos ways. You know what I mean? Like, like there's like 8 of them, and they're being a little heavy. They're showering champagne to everybody. So like, I'm just gonna not be in this area where I have to fucking do something with them for good or for bad. I don't want to be friends with them, and I don't want to have beef with them either. So I just go to another club for tonight.
All you people listening here that have young kids who want to go to antros, guess what, man? Get a disco ball, put it in your living room. Buy all the beer you want to, put the music as loud as you want, and you know what? You're not gonna get in trouble, bro.
Yeah.
You know what, Chalo? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
That's for your sister.
¿Sabes qué, Fernando? Y cuando estábamos Río, íbamos al Ball Stick allá en Mexicali, en Chicale. El Ball Stick estaban todas las borras, estaban todos los cremitas, todos los fresitas, Y sí nos agarrábamos a chingazos y todo, pero they were just
they
didn't know how to fight. They were
Benny,
just high society people.
Benny, hey, you're
Ahora
talking
no.
Spanish. Don't talk Spanish, bro. We have listeners. But Benny's saying is when he was young, back in the days, when the Flintstones days, he used to go to a place called Bolusín, and he used to go out there and dance with all the chicks over there and have fun.
It was a kindergarten class. It was a kindergarten class.
It was different. It was different fighting. It wasn't like now. Te sacan el pinche fierrazo, te filorean.
And even then, bro. I mean, I went to the clubs in the 80s, and it took us a different spin. Yeah, people had guns. They were shooting at a sarape. It was cartel related, and we had left, and we go to another bar. And as we're coming back to Calexico from Mexicali, it's like, what's all the cops doing there? And all you ask somebody, goes, dude, about 2 hours ago, they had a huge shootout. Shit,
yeah.
2 hours and 5 minminutes ago, I was there.
Pinche Chalo andaba pa Pelo Nuevo allá con
Magali. It's less money.
En los ejidos.
Con la Dolly Magali allá en Pelo Nuevo, güey.
Hey, Fernando, our worst enemy has approached us. We're already an hour and 5 minutes. Pero mira, I was talking to Benny right now as we were talking. Him and I are texting. We're going to bring you back. We want you to come back, and we want you to talk about your kidnapping case. I know you've talked about it worldwide. I've seen it 3 or 4 times, and you talked about it with us with Ash Wednesday. But that is very important for U.S. citizens that are going into Mexico. I mean, they could be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and very interesting.
But they will hit you in the face. They will hit you in the face. So you're a U.S. citizen. That's right. They will hit you in the face. So
That's right. That's right. But we want you to come back. Benny's going to get with you. Please, right now, as soon as we finish the show, don't leave. Stay on, because I want to talk to you about having Bobby, and Bobby's on right now, so we could schedule a time for Bobby to be on your show, so I could be on your show, Benny could be on your show. We would love to repay you by being on your show also. Pero sabes que, thank you. We want to talk about that. We also have a couple of other questions. What advice would you give U.S. citizens, kids going across the border? But we'll cover that on the next segment. With that said, Benny, any last words for Fernando?
Pues Fernando, gracias. I follow you. I watch you when you come up live.
Yeah.
And it's good talking. Es una buena. Te dan carrilla y las das carrilla.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up around carrilla, and that's what these people don't get. This generation, a lot of people are not used to like the carrilla and people talking shit on you in the comments. I kind of thrive on that. Like I like that. I grew up even since in juvenile in TJ and like just being in the hood with the guys. It's always carrilla. So like when I get carrilla, like funny one, I laugh at myself too, So it's just a little back and forth. They get mad because I don't get mad. So I just keep going. And so it's okay.
Hey, Fernando, Benny's a guy that at 3:00 in the morning when you're still on a 6-hour binge, he's there. He's watching you. I swear, he's watching you, dude.
La otra vez estaban dándole carrilla al Fernando y se puso bien más fufu a dormir.
Yeah, like I don't let it get to me. You know what I mean? Like I said, a lot of these guys are talking to me on fake accounts. You're not even man enough to, say like I'm here talking with it's me. Who's saying it. But a lot of these guys. I also had like, I don't know how long we have time. I'm just talking, but I had some guy keep threatening me, like send me like, oh, te voy a agarrar, cabrón. But he has this pocho accent, and it's always a fake account. I'm like, wait. Because he said something like, aquí estoy en el 15 y en el 8, or some things that never cross. I'm like, well, he's not even from San Diego. He's not even from San Diego, where you're probably over there in Riverside or something. And it's funny because he always said, like, no, I'm going to get you. I'm like, who are you? Like, no, el Señor no me deja decirte quién soy. I'm like, like el Señor Jesucristo, ¿quién? Like, and I just start laughing, you know what I mean? But man, I'm like, I've had real threats, and they always make sure you know who's talking.
Exactly.
Like, hey, wait, yo soy fulano, soy gente de fulano, and this is what's going on. That's always how they.
One thing about you, I've noticed you never talk shit. You only talk what you know. You never make it up.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like I say, I can. At the end of the day, I go back to my friends. I gotta be like, hey, wait,
absolutely.
¿Qué estabas diciendo ahí, güey? Esa mamada. You know what I mean? Like, I can't lie, man. I can't lie.
Yeah, you gotta walk the street. Yeah. Gracias.
That's right. Hey, Chalo, last words for Fernando. He's coming back next month. He's coming back.
The whole thing you're talking about career, bro. These kids nowadays can't take career, bro, because if you're out there messing with them, y les calma la pinche joto. Se agüitan, they say no.
Yeah,
No, they, them a la madre, I didn't mean it as joto as faggot, way. You guys don't know, bro. You guys don't go back to school. We used to call it, cállate, joto, bro. Anyways, bro, muchas gracias, Fernando. Thank you a lot, Fernando. Appreciate it, bro.
No, thank you guys for having me. You know, anytime. It's always an honor to be here.
And you know what? We have a lot of brothers in Christ, a lot of good Christians that watch our show. Gordo Gordito is one of them. He not only did 25 years, but he's been serving the Lord his whole life. And he says, we pray God always keeps you safe. And you have a lot of people on our show that are, and everywhere, that are praying for your safety. Con todo corazón. Hey, brother, entonces, no te vayas. Quédate ahorita para hablar sobre, so we set some times, so we can all be on your show. ¿Vamos?
Estamos.
Órale, gracias. Mil gracias, carnal. Benny, tell us about who we got next week.
Well, next week we might have Fernando back because I was talking to our hopefully our guest next week, which is retired San Diego Sheriff's Detective Ali Perez. Ali, in 2017, him and Sergeant Craig Johnson of the San Diego Sheriff's Department were shot and nearly killed while serving a warrant on a suspected pedophile. Both came under fire by the suspect, who was armed with a high-powered rifle. I mean, you don't want to miss it, but I talked to him today. He's been a little bit under the weather, so he's a little bit behind on what he needs to get done. I told him, hey, if you're not ready, that's fine. We'll reschedule you. That's no biggie. But David, you know a lot about that story. You read the book. Tell us more about it.
Oh, Benny, it's next Tuesday, the 25th at 6 p.m. PTSD or former retired Deputy Sheriff Ali Perez, detective, shares his NDE. You know what NDE stands for, Chalo?
No.
Near-death experience. This guy probably died there at the shooting scene, and the spiritual experience that he had there, he's going to share that. He's going to share the shooting. It's the longest recorded shooting in the, I guess, San Diego Sheriff's history. I remember it was a half hour, 45 minutes. I don't remember exactly how long, but it's the longest recorded shooting. He got shot twice with a 308 M1 military rifle. It is a miracle that this man's alive. And Benny, when I read that book, like I told you before, it's not a story that was written where, it takes you. No, it's like a police report, like I said. What he interviews here, his daughter, Ali's daughter, interviewed all the officers that were involved, a couple of witnesses, and it's basically their statement at the end. It's Ali's statement, and he basically summarizes everything that everybody said. It's more like a police report, but I'll tell you, I picked it up and I literally read it in 6 hours. I could not put it down. I can't wait to have him here. And you know what? And if he can't be here, we will wait for him. We'll have Fernando next week if he's available, but I'm hoping he is, because that story, I'll tell you, it's one of a kind. I've never heard anything like that. And, Benny, it's going to be outstanding. I can't wait. So you'll let us know, Benny, so we could start advertising it.
Yes.
And then, guys, tomorrow we got Benny Cruz on Ash Wednesday. Benny Cruz worked for the Sheriff's Department, San Diego Sheriffs, and also Imperial County Sheriffs for 42 years. He was a detective, and when you look at Benny's resume, the cases that Benny worked, I'm telling you, he worked from, literally a bomb-making factory to rapes, not only rapes, to murders for hire in Mexico, in the United States. Benny was that guy. He's very humble. He never says it, but he was that guy when Sheriff Duffy had a case that was a hush-hush case, he would at times say, give it to Benny Cruz, because Benny Cruz knows how to keep his mouth shut, and he's a damn good investigator. Tomorrow, he's going to share 2 cases with us. And one of the cases, I'm telling you, don't miss tomorrow's episode. Have your drink, whether it's water, whiskey, tequila. There's one case that when he was telling me about it, me and Bobby were like, oh my God, that is a case from hell. And a police officer lost his job over that case. And tomorrow, when he explains it, will talk about it. It happened in Fontana, California. It ended up in Fontana, California, major shootout with the police, but it started in San Diego, and Benny was a case agent. That case, tomorrow, he's going to talk about it, and you're going to get chills when one officer who was on probation is confronted with a situation that I don't believe any of us that were cops. I was a cop for 32 years, Chalo, 30 years, Benny, have ever been and never want to be confronted with. You're going to hear it tomorrow. It's going to be a great episode. And guys, so tomorrow at 5 o'clock, join us. And next Wednesday on the Gray Line, we have a gentleman by the name of Chris Feisty. It's called Taking Down the Cali Cartel. He's the one that after Pablo Escobar was taken down, Chris Feisty, please start watching Narcos Colombia 3. I started watching it today, so I know exactly what to ask him, Bobby and I. Next week, he was the one that took down the Cali Cartel. I'm telling you, next week, that's going to be another great episode on Ash Wednesday. So please make plans to join us tomorrow with Benny and to join us next week on with the Cali Cartel. It's going to be great. With that said, Chalo, last words.
Like always, man, if you look at everything around you and if you want to have a successful life, successful police, not only police, but career, period, and a marriage, relationship, you got to have integrity, man. You got to have integrity. Without integrity, nothing it doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Benny.
Well, it wasn't really Sheriff Duffy. I got to work for 4 sheriffs. I had Duffy, I had Collender, I had Gore, and I have one more, and I can't remember his name right now. But when Duffy was sheriff, I was just a jail. I was a jail deputy. I worked the jail, and then I went to patrol. So he was my sheriff when I was a jail deputy and in my early years in patrol. But anyway, just remember, like what I've been saying the last couple of weeks, on cold cases, if you know something, say something, man. Bring closure to some of those families that want closure. Like I said, it might be years that have gone by. You know what? You don't have to tell us who you are. Just drop a line. There's so many lines. Sheriff's homicides units from all over the country have lines where you can call and just give the information. Give them a lead. Tell them what happened. Like I said, there's victims. Even though they're dead, they want closure, and so do their families.
And Benny, that segues into tomorrow. You're going to talk about your last case about a suspect who is wanted for child molestation, and you're going to talk a little bit about that case. And so if you can, send me a number where he is probably in Mexico or maybe even in Tijuana. If people see him, I'm sure that we could extradite him back to the United States. That case you're going to talk about tomorrow, it's still outstanding. So if you give me a number where people could call so we could blast it during the show, it's going to be a great show. And with that said, guys, remember, live a purpose-driven life. Live every day like it's your last day on earth. And like Bobby always says, like Chris Kilby always says, do your buddy checks. If you get a chance, if you haven't talked to your son, your daughter, to a friend, to a cousin, to somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time, give them a call. All you have to say is, if you don't know what to say, I'm praying for you. And with that said, we'll see you tomorrow on Ash Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And Benny, what will you be drinking? Will it be moonshine tomorrow?
I don't know, man. When my birthday, man, I got a lot of bottles, so I got a lot of stuff to experiment with.
All right. Well, we can't wait, man. We can't wait to have a drink with you. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow on Ash Wednesday.
Yo ya sabía pa' dónde iba, así es que no batallé. Ya tenía trazado el camino, no la pensé y me la rifé. Y que ahora viene la mía, que tanto es tantito se pueda perder. Es que de estar hasta el fondo no había más pa' abajo y pues pa' arriba fue. Los planes que cargaba en mente, pronto los materialicé. Con la ayuda de 2 amigos y luego se sumaron 3. Una voz que me decía
día échele ganas, mijo, jamás pierda la fe. Seguí la corazonada y así grité al mundo que traía con qué. Disfrutando del proceso, no me preocupo del mañana ni el ayer. Si el presente aquí lo tengo y voy a atorarle hasta donde el corazón me dé. Y no más lo que es, chavalones.
Estamos a la orden, sus amigos los chavalitos, oiga.
A mi ama como le agradezco, este párrafo es para usted. Lo que soy a usted se lo debo, usted me hizo un hombre de bien. Sus valores y consejos también usó el cinto para hacerme entender. Y lo que no tiene precio es amor sincero que siempre tendré. Mi Dios ha sido generoso, me da más de lo que soñé. Una familia muy hermosa, mi linda esposa y mi bebé. De lo material no hablo porque eso va y viene, que haya para comer. Y que la salud no falte, tampoco las ganas de siempre hacer el bien. Sencillo, también austero, nunca me fijo en la moneda ni el papel. Un saludo a los sinceros y para mi gente al millón son siempre estaré.